technique, and so you're probably curious about what this is. So I'm really excited to share some things about this with you. And the Alexander technique is best learned when it's experienced. So I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit different today, a little bit of a different format than is usually done during this kind of adult education setting, in that we are going to actually do some things together and make this interactive. I want us to have some conversations about things, get some feedback, and talk about stuff. We'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll even share the peace. I was thinking, actually, let's use some stuff that we are doing in the service. And if you were at the first service, you will know, and maybe if you've looked ahead, if you're one of those people that like to know what the readings are going to be for the church service, you will have noticed that the gospel reading today is actually about the very first sharing of the peace, when Jesus appeared to the disciples for the first time after dying. So that's pretty cool, and I did not even know that those would be the readings for today. So I think some sort of divine connection was happening here. So let's get going and do this. So I'll invite you all to stand. And then I get to play the pastor here. That's kind of fun, too. So the peace of the Lord be with you always.
And also with you.
I invite you now to share a sign of peace with those around you. Awesome. Okay, now I don't know about you, but if you're like me, this is maybe one of the lesser comfortable parts of the service. Maybe one of the more awkward parts, especially for, can I get a shout out from fellow introverts out there like me? And then there's the whole germ factor too. There, potential awkwardness. I don't know, maybe we can work toward getting like hand sanitizer in the pews or something like that. It's an idea. But now, as you were sharing the peace, how much awareness did you have of yourself as you were sharing the peace? Awareness of yourself or awareness of what was happening around you? Did you notice the color of the person's eyes that you were sharing the peace with? How about, did you notice the person next to the person that you were sharing the peace with? Or the person behind that person? That's kind of interesting to think about, right? Do you usually only share the peace with the people that are immediately around you? Or the people that you know? Have you ever considered leaving your pew to go somewhere else to share the peace with someone you don't know, or in an area you don't usually go to? How about, have you ever noticed the space around you as you were sharing the peace? Have you ever noticed the ground underneath your feet, or the beautiful church building, or the height of the ceiling? I wonder what that experience would be like if we had awareness of some of those things. Should we find out? Should we try it? I thought we could create a little experiment around this and do this a few different times, playing with expanding our awareness a little bit to include some of these things. So let's do it again. And how about this time, notice something about the person that you're sharing the peace with. You don't have to tell them what it is. You can just know this for yourself, but just experiment with this idea. All right? So the peace of the Lord be with you always.
Also with you.
I invite you to share a peace with those around you. Yeah. Yes. It's different, right? It's different. Everybody, yes, I know. Peace be with
Peace
you.
be with you.
Oh. All right. So how did your experience change? I'd like to hear some just like popcorn, just raise your hand or just shout out. What was new about that? Yeah. Yes.
I spent more time with the person.
Interesting. You spent more time connecting with the person. What else? That's great.
Actually looked at someone.
Yes. You actually saw someone. That's interesting.
I gave myself permission to move.
You gave yourself permission to move. Isn't that interesting that we don't think to do that? But surely we do have the permission to move. We do. Yeah.
We sit in the same place every Sunday.
Right.
And it's like today, when the service started, I thought I had sort of a stomachache, so I left. And so then my wife moved back, and when I came back, we were sitting in the last row. Well, there are all different people around. That doesn't work.
I know. Right. We get really used to doing the thing that we usually do, right? And that has a certain level of comfort to it. But also it tends to narrow our perspective of the world around us. It's so interesting, and then it can be disorienting to sometimes change things up. Yeah. This is fascinating. Yes?
There are other languages where the formal greeting is peace, such as Arabic. Alanya Ashraf Kifa, Salam Alaikum. Hello, how are you? Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.
Yes.
I love that. That really hits me differently. Wait, what about being the receiver of the peace this time? Did anyone have a different experience with that? It took a little longer.
Felt seen.
We felt seen. Neat. Shall we do it again with another experiment? What is it like this time to notice more of the environment around you? You can consider, even right now, as you're standing here, notice the ground under your feet. Yeah, I know, it's fun to just like, oh yeah, right, it's there. And there's nothing we have to do. I know a lot of people talk about like, gotta get grounded, but the ground is always there. It's something we can count on. And it's a different kind of a thing to just remember, right? Remember that it's there, and it's there to support us. It's also interesting to notice the space around you. What's that like right now? As you're standing here, just notice the space around you and even the space behind you. You can look behind you, of course. But what is it like as you're standing facing the direction you're facing? Can you still have an awareness of that space behind you? And how does this change your experience just right now, standing in church? Notice the space between the top of your head and the ceiling, which in a church is quite expansive. It's almost as if the architecture is inviting us to expand our awareness toward the heavens. Let's see what it's like to do this as we're sharing the peace. Play with some of these things, noticing the environment around you. The peace of the Lord be with you always. I invite you now to share a sign of peace with the neighbors around you. Okay, peace be with you. All right. What came up for you this time? Thank you, God's peace.
The way the light was catching on the pipes of the organ.
Oh, gorgeous. Yes. Wow. I didn't even notice that. Thank you. Wasn't that interesting that as we all just heard that, all of our experience just changed? Didn't you just feel the energy in the room kind of, wow. What else did people notice? Yeah.
I don't think I've noticed all the light that comes in from the back.
Cool. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I didn't even notice the detailing on those windows back there. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. That's crazy. Yeah. There are stained glass windows there. Have you ever noticed what scenes they're depicting? Or the colors? Yeah. Yeah, what else?
My wife disappeared. She's hiding.
And suddenly you noticed that? Where is she?
She's been gone for days.
She's been gone for days. The light on the piano?
John can tell you certain pieces of music can be very peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what it would be like to have this kind of more expansive, inclusive awareness, we could say, as you're listening to a piece of music during the service. I wonder if you'd hear it differently, just like suddenly you're seeing things differently, or hearing the message of the readings differently. It's a fascinating thing, yeah.
This is the same church we come to every Sunday. So we had the privilege yesterday of listening to our granddaughter's choir in a church in Madison. And so while they were singing, I was looking all around. This is a beautiful church. I don't do that here.
Exactly, because you're here all the time, so we become habituated to what's normal. So how cool that you're making that connection. That's a nice invitation for all of us, I think. Well, this is really fun. What do you think might happen? Well, first of all, before we go to the next thing, I'm just wondering, it's striking me right now in this moment, I wonder what it would be like to be a visitor coming in for the first time here, and how might their experience be in a church with people whose awareness is so enlivened. They might have a really different experience, as opposed to maybe reflecting on how we usually do it. We're usually a little more in our own world, a little less aware, which maybe isn't so inviting. So let's do something next now. I thought it might be fun to do a little reading of the Nicene Creed, because I noticed in the bulletin, in the announcements, that apparently this year marks the 1700th anniversary of the Nicene Creed. Whoa. And again, also, sorry, Pastor Ann, the reading of the creeds are maybe one of the less interesting parts of the service. And it's always kind of bothered me to, if you stop reciting and you just listen, it's sort of creepy to hear a room full of people reading something in a monotone voice that are just on autopilot, maybe not alive and awake and aware, So let's see how it might be different. If you grab your hymnal, the Nicene Creed's actually in the back there. Let's just take it piece by piece and play with some things. First, before we even start, notice as you are holding your hymnal, notice if you are curling yourself over the hymnal. And instead, what might it be like if you are, and you can even play with this right now, sort of put it on like a costume, like I'm curling myself over the hymnal. What is it like instead to not do that and to bring the hymnal more to you? Like let the words come to you. Yeah. Notice that as you do this, you're not making yourself smaller in your attempt to go to the hymnal. You're allowing yourself space, your full space, to be your full height and width. And perhaps you might be noticing some other things. Perhaps more awareness of other things can come to you when you're not physically making yourself smaller. So let's just read the first little sentence here. Just observing yourself. What am I doing with myself? That's something we never think about, right? So let's start. We believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is seen and unseen. Great. How is that different?
Did you notice the commas?
Did you notice the commas? Yeah. We're proclaiming. You're noticing more, it sounds like you're having more awareness of what these words are that we're actually saying. Cool. What might it be like in this next section? Let's say we're going to go through begotten, not made, of one being with the Father. Through him, all things were made. We'll pause. We're going to start with, we believe in one Lord. And this time, let's pay attention to the commas and also maybe play with noticing if you're speaking in a monotone voice and what might it be like to play with a little bit of inflection. Letting your voice go up and down and let it be a little funny right now. That's just because sometimes doing things like that feels a little funny, but let's just try it. Okay, so here we go. We believe in one Lord, Jesus Christ, the only Son of God, eternally begotten of the Father, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made, of one being with the Father. Through him all things were made. Cool. Yeah. Didn't it sound really different just then? You're going to sit down? Yes. Feel free to sit if you feel like you would like to sit. Freedom of choice to sit or stand. What were some things that came up as people were reciting the creed this time?
The words not and all seem to want more emphasis.
Aha. Yes. Noticing what words need emphasis to make more sense. Yeah.
I worshiped at a black church. This is not a prayer, it's a witness to each other. So people
Yes.
face each other and say what they believe.
Yes.
It was a phenomenal experience of one voice.
Cool.
It's not a prayer, it's a witness.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because I had that thought today in the first service, and I think I'm guilty of this as well. I tend to think of this as a prayer, and I sort of go in, and I'm saying it like this. But should we play with that a little bit? What is it like? I know not all of us have this memorized, and that's okay, but what is it like to find a partner and face them and recite it? What were the words you used? They were proclaiming. It's a proclaiming instead of it's not a prayer. It's
It's apostolic, it's a witness.
a witness.
It's not discipleship, it's witnessing to Christ with each other
Yes.
and what we believe in who God is.
Let's try that. I think that sounds really fun. So sitting or standing with a partner. Let's start with for us and for our salvation. We'll go through the end of the paragraph. Here we go. For us and for our salvation, he came down from heaven, was incarnate of the Holy Spirit and the Virgin Mary, and became truly human. For our sake, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. He suffered death and was buried. On the third day, he rose again in accordance with the Scriptures. He ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again in glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom will have no end. What was that experience like? Fun? More fun. Add more meaning.
I had to memorize this when I was in ninth grade in confirmation. I don't think I've ever really taken in the meaning of what I just said. I just was
Right.
memorizing.
Memorizing words, which is stressful. That's a stressful thing. Yeah.
In the service, we tend to go faster with this. You know.
And this took more time.
It makes you think about what you're actually reading more than
Yeah.
just reading.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that too. I noticed the tempo changed and yet it was more interesting. Yeah.
I think we're louder. I think like we're more full, and is it because we're bringing this to us and we're standing? Or, you know, but we also have the option during the service to look up at the screen.
Yes.
And I find that even I was thinking about this with my kid today when we were singing some hymns, I'm like, okay, I want him, sorry, as a teenager to have better posture.
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I set the hymnal where it was right for me, and then I raised the
Yeah. Smart.
because I thought, well, this will help me, but it also helps him.
Yes.
So it's a little bit.
Very clever, Dad. Very indirectly inviting different kind of use of his organization of his body. Yeah.
He was necessarily saying anything or
Right.
speaking louder, but I just was like, okay, maybe I'll draw some attention to this where it's supposed to be.
Yes, yes, that's brilliant. And to speak to your curiosities around this, it's a yes to all of it. So I have found that when we have this more expanded awareness, when we're more aware of what we're doing with ourselves in the environment around us, then we're more whole and integrated, which then results in things like being able to use our voices in a more supported way. So it's not that there's only a correct, like the hymnal should be here, or we're always up and out. It's always in relation to. So I can theoretically be in any position. I can be sitting, I can have the hymnal here and access the same kind of whole self-support as I can when I'm more like this. Now this will maybe be easier, but also it's more vulnerable, so then that's something to work with as well. How can I feel safe enough to let myself really fill the space? And it's fascinating that these results that are happening are indirect. We weren't thinking anything about, I wonder if we can be louder this time, but it just was. And that's what tends to happen with using this kind of a process, is those kinds of cool things happen, like, whoa, we're more connected. Oh my gosh, the voices are louder and more resonant. I can hear more meaning. All of these things start to become more present because they're always there in the first place. We are designed whole and integrated, and even our innate sense of peacefulness is something that's always there, and we become dulled to it. We lose awareness of it. So it's neat that just remembering again helps bring us back to ourselves. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention what I noticed when with Chris is I actually felt a stronger sense of connection and community with him than I felt before.
Neat.
Just we're in different circles, so we don't often are not eye to eye doing something like that. I think about the potential of this for everyone in the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's different ways to have community, and just this one-on-one for a minute or two, it does something.
It does something. Yeah.
So one thing I was thinking about was how if we went through the creed now, we would all do this with this sensitivity. We wouldn't be rushed. We wouldn't be concerned about the volume and that. But it's easy to be caught up in the current of whatever the congregation is doing. And so we could lose that unless there was an opportunity, maybe before the creed happened, where the pastor reminded us that this is a witness that we're doing to one another. And then that would give the congregation sort of an awareness, thinking about what they do with it.
I love that idea because usually if you go through this so fast, I feel like we use so much of it that lots of times, yeah, it's just like if you just slow it down a little as we're doing it as a church, it'd be really great.
Exactly. When we slow down, it's easier to remember. We have more space to remember, yeah.
I had a pastor growing up who was always the slowest to say the Lord's Prayer. Always the last one, which as a kid drove me crazy. But I appreciate that more now because he gave me some space to do it. So I think that's really important to slow down. We just got all the time. We memorized the ninth grade.
Yeah. I wonder what it would be like to think of ourselves in community with one another as being the reminders, like helping each other remember. And yes, with an invitation before doing something together, this is a really helpful group reminder. But also now you all know. And I think once you learn this stuff, you kind of like can't unsee it. And there's something really powerful about someone's presence and energy when they have a more enlivened awareness and sensitivity. And so just know that if you are modeling this and living this in yourself, this is infectious. And without you necessarily needing to say to someone, you should really be reciting the creed, slowing down. In fact, if you went to someone and said that, you would likely irritate them, and it would feel maybe insulting. But a better, more powerful way, and I have to remind myself of this too, because I get very excited about this work because it's been so transformational for me, but I have to remember that in my excitement, I can't force it upon anyone. You all have come here voluntarily, so I feel free to share. But so when you model it in yourself, you're giving. You're giving that to others, and that energy, just like, you probably had this experience being around someone that just has a certain kind of calming presence, and you feel calm being around them. It's the same thing. We have these mirror neurons. It's actually science. It's a real thing. And just like you can get pulled into the current of the whole group, well, you can be your own solar system and invite people into your world. And if it's a clearer intention, people tend to be drawn into the thing that's the clearest. So that's fun. We should totally finish the Nicene Creed, and you can do this sitting down. Because
What I thought too is, I've done some Alexander technique in body mapping, and you think of the weight of these words, the gravity of these words that are 1,700 years old, and holding the book. I've heard, this thing was so heavy. But the words you are saying and the heaviness of the book and the weight that you're holding is of value too, and I think that with the body mapping and how your body is feeling as you're reading these words and holding this book that has ancient stuff in it too.
That's really cool. Thank you, John. Yes, and to get a little bit into the body mechanics of things, if that's interesting to some people, with the physical reminder of that weight, you can also think about counterbalance. So if we let all of the weight just go, and especially if our thinking is like, this hymnal is so heavy, that kind of pulls us all into that direction when we're thinking about how heavy it is, and so that thought is going to become louder and louder and more painful. But if we play with a different thought, and the Alexander technique is really about changing your thinking, if you haven't caught on yet already. And so playing with a different thought, and you can play along with me if you want, or you can do it later. So if instead I'm thinking about directing my arm and the hymnal more that way, And I'm thinking about how my hand is like a foot. That's one foot that I have, boom. And then I have two other feet. So I can notice that I have the support of the ground, and I'm giving equal attention without trying to do it, equal attention to the feet on the ground and the hand here, and they're equalizing each other. And then I can go further from there thinking about, oh yeah, and then my head's balancing away from my feet, and suddenly I have all of these oppositional directions in my body that then make me feel like I could hold this for days. Suddenly I'm lighter. It's easier. See, the Alexander technique shows us how we can be a little easier in ourselves, in our thinking too, because the Alexander technique speaks to the truth of our wholeness. We tend to think about mind and body as being separate. And in the church setting, I think that there's a danger of this, of really going into the intellectual in the mind and thinking about spirit as being really in here when we are one. So mind, body, and spirit work together. And when we are more integrated, then we have a better chance of understanding more about the things like the peace that passes all understanding. I had this really powerful experience since I just went there. I'll just go with it. I started studying the Alexander technique about 8 years ago. And it's popular in the performing arts world. And I was really interested in it so that I could have some more tools to help my voice students. And from the very first lesson, I realized, whoa, this is really helpful for my singing, but this is about so much more than that. And it's helpful for my teaching, but it's about more than that. Because as I was working with it, and as I was having lessons with my teachers, I started to notice that my thinking, my anxious mind, tended to really quiet down. And I started to experience a different kind of peace that I had never known. And a few times it brought me to tears. Probably, it kind of felt sad in the moment, and I have reflected on that a lot, and I wonder if it's because it was a recognition of the peace that I've been keeping from myself, you know? And I started to wonder, oh, maybe, I wonder if this is what that means. The peace that passes all understanding, or like, whoa, what if God dwells here? Or taking a walk outside, which is a time when I frequently play with the Alexander process and my awareness. And when I suddenly have awareness of the beauty of nature around me, it's like, whoa. I suddenly feel like I'm being taken care of, and God has been there the whole time. And I just needed to open my eyes and see it. So those have been and it's very moving for me in this moment to be able to share these stories with you, because I don't often talk about the spiritual benefits that come from the work, because it can sound kind of weird, talking about with people. It's been, what, am I going to talk about this with my voice students? I do talk about life stuff with them, but to be able to talk about it in this environment is pretty cool, because it's not like the Alexander technique is some, it's just that. It's just that Alexander happened upon this truth of our wholeness. Just like Isaac Newton or Einstein or something, And it's a way to show us how can we get back to how we were made and how we were designed to be, and recognize that the support and love of God is like there all the time around us. So on that note, let's recite the last paragraph of the Nicene Creed together. And I'm curious right now in this moment about staying seated, actually. It feels right to stay seated. And what is it like to have awareness of each other right now in this space? Isn't that neat that you can like sense everyone's presence without needing to like look directly at them? You can just feel it. So consider, like, widen your bubble of awareness to include this whole room and the people in it. And can you be with them as they are with you as we recite the last part together? We believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father and the Son, who with the Father and the Son is worshiped and glorified, who has spoken through the prophets. We believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. We acknowledge one baptism for the forgiveness of sins. We look for the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. Amen. Thank you. Shall we do a little singing? Let's do a little singing. John's going to help us. I thought it would be fun to sing the first hymn of the service today. If you're going to get to go to this next service, I envy you. Like, this will be wild. You'll have to let me know how it goes. Yes?
Before we do that,
Yeah.
can I tag on something that you were making such a beautiful comment about the spirit and the mind and the body all being together?
Yes, please.
So, some of you may know the name Helen Kemp. She was a pioneer in children's choir music, and she taught at Princeton, and she had a mantra that said, body, mind, spirit, voice. Makes the whole person to sing and rejoice. And that's what you made me remember about that. That it is a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
All those parts come together to make this one thing that really keeps us together.
Yes.
And
That's beautiful. And I'm really loving the addition of voice to that. Yes. Voice as something to express what's in us, express our wholeness. It's really special. Yeah. So, okay. The first hymn today, the melody is the Beethoven Ode to Joy, which is a song of togetherness. I mean, when it happens at the end of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, it's like, wow, is this cool experience. So what a fun one to explore together now. And what is it like? I'm just going to read the lyrics of the first verse. Christ is risen, shout Hosanna, celebrate this day of days. Christ is risen, hush in wonder, all creation is amazed. In the desert, all surrounding, see a spreading tree has grown. Healing leaves of grace abounding, bring a taste of love unknown. I mean, even I'm seeing these words for the first time. I went to the 8:30 service. Let's sing the first verse and consider the words. And as I'm saying the words right now, they're pretty happy. They're pretty happy, and so I'm wondering what it would be like to sing it with a smile. A vocal technique tip is that you always sing better with a smile. You always move better with a smile. So let's try it. John, will you bring us in? Christ is risen, shout Hosanna, celebrate this day of days. Christ is risen, hush in wonder, all creation is amazed. In the desert, all surrounding, see a spreading tree has grown. Healing leaves of grace abounding, bring a taste of love unknown. Yeah. How was that different? What was that like? What did you notice?
I mean, it was completely different than what we did at 8:30 with my hymnal going, la da da.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the notes, and I'm thinking about Beethoven, and I'm thinking about, but this was really good.
Smiling puts meaning into it.
Smiling puts meaning into it. Pastor Ann?
I think hymns have some of the best theology of our faith, right?
Yeah.
And can be wonderful teachers. But when you're trying to get the notes and you're listening to the organ and maybe the line cuts off, but the sentence doesn't,
Yes.
right? Like, you have to read them like you did at the beginning to kind of absorb what they mean so that then you can sing it with some meaning. Because it's poetry.
It's poetry.
And it's like excellent theology, but you don't get that when you're trying to do all those other things at the same time.
Yes, and that is a fair statement. There's a lot of multitasking happening, and especially when we're trying to read music and all of that, it can be a bit overwhelming for the senses. Like, how can we possibly have the ability to pay attention to all of those things all at the same time? So this is brilliant. Let's make an experiment of this, and I'm going to actually suggest and propose that we stand this next time because it will be easier. As you come to standing, though, because every moment is an opportunity, as you're sitting in your pews, notice the seat underneath you. When we're sitting, that's the ground. And your feet are on the ground too, but most of your weight is in the seat, right? So can you, as you come to standing, can you have some awareness of your weight on the seat, and then that moment that weight transfers then to your feet as you unfold and come to standing? It's like, where's the ground? The ground is in the chair, and then the ground is on the ground, and here I am. Let's try it together. I'll do it too, you can watch me. Maybe I'll model it. So I'm sitting here, and my sitting bones, we actually have sitting bones that then become the feet when we're on the seat. And in order to come to standing, I fold, and then I'm going to be transferring my weight to my feet. And then suddenly the weight is on my feet, and I can use the ground to help me unfold more easily. Instead of, let's try it. So the ground is on the seat, and you're just, where's the ground? And then, when does that change? Oh my gosh, now the ground is the ground, my feet. Yeah. Whoa. So as we sing it this time, first just take a moment, since we just got acquainted with the ground, have awareness of the ground under your feet, and the space all around you. Let's just experiment with this, singing the second verse, and see what happens. Christ is risen, raise your spirits from the caverns of despair. Walk with gladness in the morning, see what love can do and dare. Drink the wine of resurrection, not a servant but a friend. Jesus is our strong companion, joy and peace shall never end. So I'm especially curious about what your experience was like following the notes and the words and all that stuff, but also with some sort of awareness of the ground and the space around you. Was it doable? What was it like?
I wanted to move a little.
You wanted to move a little. Cool.
I felt like paying attention to how I got up gave me more energy to sing. I was more prepared.
You were more prepared.
I actually felt like I could sing, although I don't.
Hey, I'm singing. Hey, we're born to sing. Yes. Right, yeah. When we're a little more all online, then we have, it's a life generating, energy generating force. Yeah, that helped you have more to sing. Anyone else? Yes.
Mine is different. I already felt that energy. So when reading the words, where it said, not a servant, but a friend, that's a huge impact to think of that. And that, I'm like, well, I never noticed that when we were singing in church earlier.
Yeah,
At all.
at all. Yeah.
I saw the words, see what love can do and dare. And I was like,
Oh my God. Did anyone find that by expanding their awareness to include the ground under the feet and the space around somehow gave you, your brain, more space and capacity to consider the lyrics in some weird way?
It also got me thinking about other people. We don't know what other people, what's going on in their lives when they show up to church. We're not all in the same place. And so that verse got me thinking about those who, what was the?
Caverns of despair.
Caverns of despair, that hopefully in this hour, this experience will help lift that person out of that cavern of despair.
As you're saying that, I'm reminded of something that I've learned through the Alexander technique, another kind of like, what thing, which is when we give ourselves this kind of space and care, it's like a kind of self-care that's really different, right? And when we are caring for ourselves in this way, that also gives space to others, and it's showing them that they can also take care of themselves. And so I'm struck by this act of being in community with one another in this way and singing together, that's somehow touching everyone with whatever they're dealing with at the time without necessarily needing to like, are you okay? People can have their space to be supported in the way that they need. And it's all, we don't know what's happening with everyone. And that's not to say we shouldn't engage in conversation, of course, but there's something powerful about this kind of support, too, that's different. And togetherness.
It's like a nonverbal communication to someone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is very revealing to me. As a former teacher of extemporaneous reading and speaking, I always thought I was the only one who was trying to pay attention to the commas and the important words and what should be the emphasis. I wanted to speak so much slower than the rest of the group was doing. I thought, well, that's only me. But I hear lots of people saying they had the same feeling, that somehow there was more there than just this rote recitation that we were doing.
Yes. Yeah. It's something that we all want, it sounds like. Yeah. Let's sing the last verse together, and let's play with this idea of the fancy word in the Alexander world is inclusive awareness. So of all the things that we've talked about today, what is it like to have awareness, something about the space around, something about what am I doing with myself, and something about, and I'm together with other people, I'm with. Let's try it. Yay. It kind of makes you think about we hear all the time, like, God is here, He is with us, but what does it mean? How do we experience that? What are people's thoughts about that? Like, do you feel like somehow it's more present as we are more present?
Yeah, John, I don't know if you played it that way this morning, but I wasn't as aware as I am now about that. Not your fault.
I'm playing it slower right now. For sure. Because I'm reading the words as well.
Yeah.
Neat. Yes, Andy.
There's an energy in the room. Second verse, I felt it too. Or just kind of a buzz.
A buzz.
But it was really interesting to feel like we're all in together, as opposed to like just got to church, I got to my seat, I entered occupied.
Yeah.
I didn't worry about that. Allow that to all sink in, so we were synced. We like to.
We were synced. Yeah.
Which is great for Easter. Easter is a buzz.
Right.
Easter is a buzz. Yeah, this image is coming to my mind of like little strings of like heart to heart, like they're more like this web of connection is forming between us.
I appreciate the meditative pace, but sometimes to really move along is exciting.
Yes, that's an excellent point too. And so what if space isn't necessarily about the actual tempo, but more the quality? I've played a lot with this as a musician myself because, of course, there are pieces that really move along at a good clip. But can I be, on the inside, have a spirit of pausing and a slowness in my thinking, so I'm not all like, bound up and anxious? Can I play quickly and still have the quality of slowness in me? So that's an excellent point. And we should, there's this wide range and palette of musical, artistic expression that includes reading and all of it, poetry and everything, that we should be able to go at any tempo. That's fun. That's part of the fun. Yes?
Part of what you're sharing just feels like that concept of mindfulness.
Yes.
Which is lived out in so many different ways, but I've never really considered it in this setting.
Yes. 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 And you could think of this as mindfulness in 3D. Yeah. Mindfulness that's awake, too. Eyes open in 3D. Yes, Pastor Ann.
So all y'all know this now. So this is the energy you're going to bring every Sunday morning, right? And you're schooled and steeped in the Alexander technique, but when you were beginning, were there ways that you reminded yourself? Because I don't think, tell me if I'm wrong, that I can get up every Sunday and be like, okay, everybody, Alexander technique.
Yeah.
Start worship. So are there tricks or tools that you have to remind yourself, I'm really going to listen to the words, or I'm going to pay attention to people when I pass the pews?
This is an excellent question. And what you're just describing contains the answer. So the more you play with this and are thinking about it in your daily life, the more chance you have of remembering it in a situation here. Church is one of my favorite places to nerd out with practicing the Alexander technique, because Alexander technique is not a thing that's practiced separately on its own. The Alexander technique is practiced in activity. It shows us how our activities, whatever they are, can be more enhanced, better, easier, more meaningful. And so you can make it a practice for yourself. The way I started and the way I like recommending starting is choosing something that is an everyday cue that happens a lot, that you can then link it to, this is a time when I'm going to just play with noticing the ground. Like brushing your teeth is a good one. something that you do a lot during the day that you tend to not be thinking about anything, or you're just thinking about other stuff, busy mind stuff. So what if every time you brush your teeth, you practice noticing the ground and the space around you? And then the more that you do this, the more it snowballs into kind of being in your awareness more regularly. Or say you want to link it to something in the church service for yourself, like every time I stand to sing a hymn, I'm going to practice thinking about the space around me and the people and the ground. And I think we can be each other's reminders too by modeling it, like I said, or I think even for you, Pastor Ann, if you take a moment for yourself to do that, even if you don't say it, it's going to be communicated. That invitation is there when you give that moment to yourself of a pause and a remembering. And it takes practice. It can be a lifelong study. Are there any other questions? We have a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Is there a book on Mr. Alexander that you would, if we wanted to read a little bit about him?
Sure. There are many books, and what I will say is the version of the Alexander technique that I have just presented to you is not one that you will regularly see out there. It's more of a contemporary and yet returning back to what was originally intended type of message. I feel very lucky that my teachers were leading me down that kind of path. If you look up the Alexander technique online, you're probably going to see a lot of stuff about posture and alignment and the release of muscle tension and stretching fascia and stuff like this. But that's missing the grander point, which is that it's about wholeness. It's about the unity of mind, body, and spirit, and about an awakened, enlivened consciousness. So just know that as you're searching out there, because there are a lot of resources. One book that I really do like is called Body Learning, and it's by Michael Gelb, and it's very easy to read. Another book I will recommend that you can get pretty easily, I don't like recommending Amazon, but you can get it on Amazon, is called Mindfulness in 3D, and it's by an author named Peter Nobes. And that's a really easy read as well. Don't go buying an Alexander book written by, Alexander wrote several books, and they are very dense and hard to read, so I wouldn't recommend starting there. But maybe those two would be good ones to start with. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm always here. So, I'm not always here, but I'm here. Please reach out if you have more questions. I do teach Alexander lessons one-on-one. And I just want to thank you all for having me, and allowing me the opportunity to do this. This felt very meaningful. So, thank you. Thank you. Yes. And I also do workshops, so like workshops for choirs and performing groups. So spread the word.